And we are live. So we're laughing a lot. We were just discussing with Leo at the backstage, the washing machine and drying machine at as a one machine. So that's why you see faces, not faces, smiles on our faces. But not only because of that, also because we will be talking about very interesting thing today. So PLG and SLG and how actually PLG can help in new enterprise world. So before we start, my name is Kris. So I go by Kris. I'm co-founder of Valueships, and I'm a big enthusiast of pricing. And today we have my friend with me. You have my friend with us on this webinar, Leo. I can introduce yourself, but I think you can also introduce yourself. So why don't you do it, and then we can kickstart.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. I mean, the amount of times we met on conferences last year, I think you know everything about me in the worst possible states of alcohol induced. I'm Leo, and I'm from Zagreb, from Croatia. I'm also connecting here from Croatia. And what I do is I'm founder of SaaStanak, which is a SaaS community of SaaS founders and operators in Central and Eastern Europe. Started here in Zagreb, then expanded to other cities in the ex-Yugoslavian space, and now we're also expanding in rest of the CE. So we'll probably touch on that later. And washing machines that have both dryer and the cleaning in one place suck, and I can attest to that.
Bold
Similar to multi-product SaaS that starts with that vision, I think. My washing
Yeah.
machine is something like a Salesforce, but for poor people,
Oh my God! Bold statement from the very beginning. I hope we offended only half of the crowd. No, I'm kidding. I hope we did not offend anyone. So also, just as Leo is super humble to everyone, Leo is a founder of SaaStanak, which is not only a great community but also a great event in May in Croatia, in Šibenik. So most likely we'll tell you this or we'll repeat ourselves again at the end of this webinar. But if you don't have any plans, or if you would like to learn more about SaaS ecosystem a bit more, Šibenik in my is the place to be. So Leo, thinking about the topic, we have this tradition actually in this webinar, and tradition means we are doing it for the third time, but tradition is it will be counting. Before we jump into PLG and enterprise topic, I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of change happening right now. We have AI coming to the place, or is already there. That's number one. From my perspective, pricing and monetization models are evolving quite quickly, and I wanted to ask you, how do you see the world, not tomorrow, not in a year, but in 5 years? How do you see the software ecosystem in 5 years from today? And you can go very creative.
Yeah, I see it as AI singularity, and we're all dead. But other than that, no, I'm just kidding. But I see a lot of changes in approaches with this AI. Basically, AI kind of changed everything, and in that sense, like traditional SaaS stays in place. I think it doesn't really change in that much as these operators and like different paradigms of using the software change. So, and that also impacts pricing. So I was thinking about this last night, and I was thinking how like you already have this structured SaaS place, like time tracking, CRMs, etc. So those are all softwares that we use in daily basis, and we already have a bunch of information and a bunch of common use cases for them. And especially if you use something like Salesforce or something for 5 to 10 years, you're not going to change it that much. While Salesforce might add some different aspects to it, for example, AI operator, there might be other companies that are AI first in terms of like creating these operators for different types of SaaS. So I kind of envision a future where, other than paying for Salesforce, instead of paying for 100 seats of Salesforce, you pay for one. Or in the meantime, I think they'll change the pricing. You pay for one, and then you pay something, some SaaS or something that is actually an AI operator that works in your Salesforce. So that's kind of the thinking I have. Like I'm not really sure that all of the SaaS businesses will be able to create their own operators or something like that, they'll probably trust or they'll rely on some other third vendor that's going to create like a multi-product operators that work on these platforms. So I think like the biggest change will be in basically human labor, like workforce, and the pricing of these softwares. So you will not be able to charge per seat that much if there is like one seat that can do a job for 100. And I think that kind of is not a pessimistic overview. It's kind of a realistic overview when you think about like where the whole this change goes. But it's also not like that kind of a rapid change like Satya Nadella told us, or a lot of people are telling us how SaaS is dead. I don't think things changed that much, but rather like there is this borderline changes and like how people work, and this is how like SaaS will evolve in time. And I think you guys are good, very well positioned to kind of capture that change as well with the pricing strategies, because this is where most SaaS businesses will hurt the most.
We see it already, actually. When you think about this, there is this famous quote that SaaS is dead. I think actually with the what was mentioned during this interview, this is only a quote, but I think this is not what the quote stands for. I think like the underlying idea of this interview is about that it's gonna evolve and it will change, and the traditional model as we know of today, it is that. I still don't fully agree with that, because there are like not all the use cases of SaaS are the use cases for AI. So that's number one. Majority most likely yes, but not all of them. So and then when you think about this and about the evolution, lately together with my team, we've scanned more than 1,000 pricing pages of UK companies, and we see SaaS UK companies, and we see already that more than 30% of the companies in UK are offering some level of AI solution. Of course, this is a declaration, so there is frequently a follow-up question. Yeah, but what AI is this, right? For some, it is like a AI, so real operators. For the others, it would have been only a plugin to ChatGPT or to any other model. Nevertheless, more than 30% of companies are claim they already have some AI in their pricing page. So it means that they have it also in the product, which means basically. And now thinking about this when it comes to how we are selling and what we are selling, it means that, and do you have the same feeling? I have this also quite bold statement that in the future there won't be neither PLG nor SLG companies, but there will be just operators, and you can have one product that will serve both very small use cases and very big use cases. So SLG versus PLG will not be there in the future. Do you think that is feasible or not really?
So if you think about it, like you're selling a SaaS product and you sell an agent with it, like for example, you need a RevOps function, and instead of hiring for RevOps, I sell you the AI agent for RevOps and also the framework or background SaaS product in the background that actually works in that role. Then yes, and I think like these things will kind of amplify the PLG moment even more, because you're kind of going to not only cut into these like software budgets, like you're going to cut in hiring budgets as well, and that might drive the prices of these agents higher because they can access higher budget. But it also commodifies the space a bit more, so it might even push the prices even lower if you have like small differentiators between these SaaS products plus AI agents. On the other hand, like in enterprise sales, it's not about the features, usability, it's about trust. So I think like maybe I would beg to differ in this space, because you're basically you're trusting a third party to perform a function for you. And usually that involves face-to-face communication and a lot of back and forth, which kind of revolves around like, who is this person? Can I trust this person or this company? What is the brand of the company, etc.? So I can imagine like moving forward, there is like very good niche of enterprise companies and like enterprise managers trusting AI first companies without even talking to a person. But as we all know, in enterprise companies, usually the managerial structure is not that demographic. So you're kind of catering to people who are old school.
Also
And I
because
think
we're talking about
for
very
some time you're going to still see proper salespeople going door to door in these companies. And I think like with this advent of AI in all sales communication, real life and like actual salespeople kind of are worth a lot more. So those are people with networks and people who can actually engage folks without using cold email or a cold LinkedIn DM and similar. So kind of a industry professional type of salespeople. So I would say like there is two moments there. But PLG might be even more automatized, while SLG can, and I think will work still in a little bit of a more old-fashioned way, where instead of actually emailing back and forth, you might be having more real-life meetings than before.
Let me challenge that a bit, right? Because this is exactly the topic that we are discussing. So, what is the new PLG momentum, and how we can use it in enterprise? So, let me challenge what you have said just a bit, right? Because in principle, I agree with you, and I think this is the one avenue that we can follow. But then, in your logic, you assume that you require trust because there is money behind the deal. But if you will take this assumption away and take the assumption that we'll be only charging for the output or the outcome. So let's assume the outcome that the company is receiving. Why do you need trust, right? You're not paying as long as you don't get an ROI. So why do you need, you can just test and learn, right? You can test and learn forever. The other discussion, of course, is if it's the future, because like I was running lately CFO workshops, and they tend to disagree that this will be the future. Nevertheless, the discussion is definitely happening that we're gonna charge per ROI per the effect of our work. So you don't need the trust anymore because you can just test and learn. If it doesn't work, you don't pay, you just buy. So why do you need sales?
Yeah, in perfect world, I would say like I agree, but I think like when you think about enterprise company, they set the budgets end of year for next year. They think they basically estimate the spend. They allocate these budgets to some people. These people basically they are responsible for them and for the results that need to be delivered. So they will, if they choose a AI operator or company that is working in AI as their preferred vendor, they're not gonna change the vendor in couple of months time. They're gonna stick with it for some time. So that's why you do like these proof of concept deals and stuff like that. And to actually go into integration like that, you need trust. You need to basically trust the vendor that they're not gonna leak your whole information of your company through an LLM, or you're gonna have some other backlash. And then on the other hand, this person who is accounting for this budget will probably want to have at least someone on the other side responsible for spending that budget. So if I spend like a couple of grand with you, like I want to know who do I call if in case like my boss wants to fire me. So I think like this is where like people still are involved because people are still making the decision. If on the enterprise side it's an AI making decision, then well, what the hell? Then we'll just drink cocktails in Šibenik and just have a good time. But at this point, I think still like managerial class wants to and needs to have someone responsible, and that person needs to be a human being. In this case, like it can be like a less, like basically one salesperson could do higher velocity with the AI, but I still think this person exists. And I also think it's more important than ever, because if you have this less trust, especially in written communication, online communication in general, you're going to want to have face-to-face conversation. And then, I don't know, until humanoid robots, I think people are still the best choice.
But isn't it though? So isn't it what you're saying is like exactly what's in there for in our like the title of the discussion of PLG for enterprise scale. So because for me, what you're saying is that the role of sales will change. So it won't be about closing the deals, but it will be about using the product, right? So I'm not sure how it was in your previous previous work. Leo used to work in the company that I admire, like actually two companies that I admire a lot. So ChartMogul and SaaS Group, and ChartMogul quite famous from both sales and a bit of a not a bit, a lot of a PLG motion, with great leader Sarah leading the team there. And I've been thinking that maybe you in ChartMogul were in this place when you were not only selling but also teaching users how to use it. Because for AI, if we go with my assumption that everything or most of the things will be based on the usage slash based on the ROI, I mean, sales should not only convert the deal or land the marketing on your, for example, email, which will be most likely marketing department function, but also get money, and money will means using the product, right? So do you think that the traditional enterprise sales company can learn something from PLG motion?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, like I kind of follow your logic on like usage and basically people paying for usage, but I
And
think like
by the way, just to make it crystal clear,
yeah,
it's not like I am full into the code. I just see
but
the options here, right?
but I'm just challenging it from perspective like enterprise buyers don't buy like that. Like you're not buying because of the usage, you're buying to approve a budget and project. Like there is a certain grand vision that gets set on the board level, and it just gets translated to downstream. And then you as a manager, like mid-level manager somewhere, you need to translate that vision into purchases, like basically vendors you choose, and basically everything that is connected to that project. And then like this person kind of course they want to deliver results, but not all software delivers results. Some software actually just gives you a backstory or something that is like a good fitting piece of the puzzle in the whole grand scheme of things. Like I know a lot of companies that implemented Salesforce just for the sake of it, of having Salesforce, for example. So there is a lot of I wouldn't say like this is the good part of selling software, but there is a lot of following the trends and basically being part of the special club of users of some certain product or some certain paradigm. Like when everyone talked about PLG, like basically, I mean, before this SaaS slowdown, like you had a bunch of people selling PLG, CRMs, PLG, whatever, marketing automation, etc. Now, like you basically see, or at least like before this AI wave, you would see like SLG is the way to go, and like basically everything is about ABM and enterprise sales, etc. So you have
Now it's
this.
ABM, no?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, ABM kind of stuck with this trend, and I think ABM is going to have its best moment yet. But I feel like these managers and people are influenced by a lot of these trends in the industry, and then you kind of make decisions on top of that. And then, of course, retention rates suffer if the product is actually unusable, but you commit for a year too. Sometimes that's enough for you to get a next round of funding as a SaaS vendor. So I don't think like things will be super rational from this point, just because we have all of these tools.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Not sure, like we will see. We will see definitely how it goes in the future. I think it will be a mix. To be very honest. So we will see also a change in enterprise level. I know that the change is happening slow there, and I totally understand that how they cascaded the decision. But I think that. They're also looking at their budget, and maybe they will be capable of sacrificing a bit of a trust, a bit of a decision making towards aligning with the goal that they are having for software that they don't have to pay for, at least at the very beginning.
Kris,
Tell
I
me.
mean, you worked at like consulting companies. Like, tell me, I mean, why would you need a consulting company in, as an enterprise customer, right? Like, you can, if you hire good people, like you can do the decision making yourself. What I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is like what you're paying for is actually accountability. Like you outsource the accountability to a different company. Like those are conclusions you could get to by yourself. But this way, a manager, like someone, is basically covering their back by outsourcing someone else to do the work. And I think like this doesn't go away with AI. I mean, you could outsource it to AI, but like, who is going to sue the AI? Like, who is going to actually fire the AI operator? That's what I'm thinking. Like, people are a crucial part, not because we are smart and we are better than machines, etc. It's because we can actually be held accountable for stuff, and also we can kind of advance through our careers or whatever for benefits we bring in. So people still kind of exist, while I think like most of the roles that are bottom roles are kind of getting scraped with the LLM. These managerial roles are going to get even more important in a way, because they're going to be accountable people for AI machines or whatever. So these are people you're going to fire if things go wrong, and you still need heads to chop.
I will not put myself on spot by answering your question, but it's only a part of the
yeah, of course. I'm
it's
kind of dumbing down, but
not
it is an
only for
important
the
part.
schooling, right?
Yeah.
No, but I think you mentioned very important things. So you mentioned people and you mentioned skills. And lately, actually 2 days ago, I was listening to a keynote by Nathan Latka, and he was saying that right now, what will be like, he was mentioning different things, but one of the things that he mentioned is that differentiator would be your skills, and he means soft skills, right? That coding becomes very easy, that there are no code platforms, that you don't need that such an extensive team. Also in our region, we see that custom software development companies are not doing as good as they were a couple of years ago, both in terms of revenue and number of people that they are employing. So maybe thinking also, let's bring this conversation from the CTO level, so from the technical level, let's try to bring it to the sales level. So what do you think, what are the most crucial three, maybe four, maybe one, but what are the most crucial skills when it comes to enterprise selling and people? So how to do it? I know you are doing it great, so maybe you can also share it with our audience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like 3 or 4, but like basically every and really good skilled enterprise salesman is a good networker. So you kind of carry in your customers and your deals into like different types of situations, and you expand your network by being present at the different types of events, or like just asking people to give you referrals. And I think like in general, I mean, of course, a lot of this communication could be automated by AI or something, but it's still like it's, for example, when someone asks you, Kris, like, can you recommend someone for this job posting that I have? Like, you kind of put your reputation on the line recommending someone. So you might want to make sure that like whoever you're recommending is actually a person that can perform on that job. So I think like in that sense, when you think about enterprise sales, good enterprise salesmen are people who are resourceful. So you kind of want to keep them around. So they not only land a deal with you, they kind of expand your own, scope, either by, teaching you something, connecting you with people, inviting you to stuff that you might not be able to have access to. So they are kind of the industry insiders. Mm-hmm. And I think these people will not go away. They'll even more, like, I think they'll be important even more, because the trust levels of online communications are falling. Like if you ever try to do an outbound campaign in 2024, like it's a total wreck. Like I mean, it's super hard. Yeah, I mean, it's super hard to get to people. Like the way we get to people when we sell sponsorships and like when we invite people to the conferences, by referrals. Like it's by being present. A lot of times, real life, knowing someone, meeting someone, and then asking, "Hey, like, do you know who else might be interested in this?" And good salespeople will be those kind of people. On the other hand, another thing that I think,
just to make
go
sure,
ahead.
we have number one. So the resourcefulness and how good networker you are.
Yeah.
My good friend of mine and the co-founder of Valueships, Maciek, once told me that the enterprise salesperson is as good as long his or her phone book is,
Yeah.
or so how many contacts people are having. And I think it's very much true, right? Of course, this is just a good benchmark. How many people you know, how many people you can call, where you can get the information from. So number one, and it used to be important, it is important, and it will be important.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the job is going to get a little bit more fun as well, because what I'm hearing from SaaS space, like from companies like Battle, for example, etc., it's like you want to provide an experience to your customers and prospective customers. So you basically try to find something that people can be interested in, that they can do, like a mini golf, boat tours, stuff like that, like even tickets for a football game or something like that. And that's kind of resembles the old school industries. I think like SaaS is becoming a little bit of more old school, and now you actually have, even you always had that with SaaS vendors selling to traditional industries, they had to do it, but now you even have that in SaaS vendors selling back to SaaS, which is, I think, interesting. Like it gives a little bit more color to the job.
Full
But yeah,
circle.
yeah, exactly. Like we're coming back to old school. Like everyone will watch Glenn Ross and always be selling. But yeah, the second point that I wanted to say is like the influencer type of salesperson, and I think like people basically think about it like LinkedIn game, and I think there is a bit more to it. Like influencers are kind of people that are also, like, on the outside they appear influential in their industry. On the inside, they're actually content creators, and they basically dishing out content and grabbing eyeballs to your product. Like there is a really good company here in next Yugoslavia, in Macedonia. It's called HeyReach, and their founder and their whole team are like gang of influencers, and it's amazing how they, like, basically, like, every person they hire has like their own following and their own content game that they bring into the table. So they just hired their head of sales, Naja. She was also in Lemlist, and she basically carries a lot of weight on LinkedIn and other platforms because she already built her own audience. So it's very interesting. Like that's kind of the person I would hire, for example, for a sales role or something like that. And when you think about it, like these are people who will matter even if you have everything automated, right? Like they are actually, the salespeople everyone listens to, or rather like everyone watches. So I think like these two angles, like you could be a really good networker or you can be a really good content creator, and you'll have a really good sales career. I think those two things will just continue on.
Mm-hmm. So don't you think it's much harder to get into the sales roles nowadays? Because with the word in SaaS, I don't want to say it's full of influencers, but we already have big names in SaaS, right? Most likely, we can like easily mention top 5, I don't know, most influential people in SaaS. Also, even in SaaS
Kris
price.
on the first place, right?
No, I'm like third level type of speaker,
B tier.
Ryan extra leg, right? type of type of speaker. We were laughing, just for the audience, like as a side joke. We were laughing with Leo that some of the speakers are require, the business class flight when you are
Yeah.
inviting them. So those are the first class speakers, and like I am the third level speaker. So for me, Ryanair extra leg space, it's more than enough. So that is a side joke. No, but my point, I think, was quite valid, right? Because then if you think so, if you're a small company, right, if you're just starting and you have your product has an enterprise use case, I mean, you can't really afford those people. That's number one. Number two, which is harder, it's going to be harder to become influencer in time. The more influencers you have, and you have the same amount of time to view and to watch, listen to influencers. So the more you have them, the barrier of entry for the new entrant is much higher, right? Because like the attention span, it's a definite, right? It's not infinite for the consumers. So going back to that point, maybe sorry for bringing it back, but maybe going more product-led growth, more instead of SEO, for example, going with AI optimization, search optimization, and doing this type of marketing, this type of sales is the only way for the new entrant. So maybe going PLG for enterprises in the AI world, in the cluttered world, in the world full of content, for startups, very early stage companies, will be the only thing to do.
I think that's a paradigm for, I mean, even before AI. Like in
Yeah,
general,
I don't want
people,
to. Don't want to.
yeah,
Sorry, I just don't want to. AI before and after AI, right?
yeah,
Like putting AI on the side actually in this
yeah.
conversation, because still it's the same thing, right? More content, more people, more influencers. Search is being more expensive. Like the only AI part of this conversation is that you have new engine optimization, right? Because for B2B, AI engine optimization or search engine optimization for AI might be a bit more important soon.
Yeah, but I also think like it's not only, I mean, it is crowded space, but it's also like very homogenized. Like you have people shouting the same opinions. Like you can actually break through without like, even if this like is very crowded space, you can break through with something more controversial or more, a different type of opinion. And you see it every day. Like even if you look at like US CEOs right now, like aligning with like right-wing politics, etc., these things like basically are also extension of their marketing. And I really think like now, if you can bring in authenticity and some flair to it, like if you can figure out a little bit the algorithm and what goes well, you can actually break out as a new influencer, content creator, or whatever, even though the space is super crowded. So I wouldn't agree. I think like these things are changing with trends, and like we're all I mean, we're all part of the Borg, and like every day just plug in the internet in your head, and you kind of basically search through the content that appeals to you at this moment, and that might mean like an influencer from yesterday is not relevant anymore. So it's not like a constant pool getting bigger and bigger. I think like these things also change, and the focus of people change. So, and on the point of PLG, like it was already true. Like people avoided hiring for sales roles and try to do like full PLG. And then they come up to the enterprise problem where they need to close big deals, and then they overspend on a VP of sales and sales team that is from some experienced company or something like that. So this is just going to continue happening. It's not anything new. Maybe with AI, like the SDR roles are kind of done, so you don't really have this ramp up of let's say early in career salespeople. So you might end up with like a basically lack of proper salespeople in a couple of years because you don't have the pipeline or the funnel of new entrants in the
Talent.
space. So that's a problem, honestly. I mean, when you look at like here and even whole Central and Eastern Europe, like you have this problem of not enough sales talent because there is no new entrants. People are hiring from the same companies, like basically just stealing salespeople from each other, and no one is kind of hiring or making a pipeline of students coming to SDR roles and then something else, etc. So I think it's going to be even like making the sales role. I mean, I know I'm shouting that same thing, but like I think it's going to make sales role even more important, like even more scarce and even more important.
It is a paradox with all this AI SDRs that, in some way, it's very interesting time to be a sales professional. Also, it's quite interesting times to be a pricing professional. Definitely much more interesting than in what it was. It was always super interesting, maybe only for me, but for me, Maciek and our company, but it was always super interesting. But right now it's like super duper interesting. You can tell. But yeah, I think we agree on that. It's hard to be junior. Also, it's hard to be. That's number one, and there are not enough juniors, and it's gonna be harder and harder. Also, it's quite hard for new entrants, but it's always has been. We've been talking about skills. What about the channels, right? Because I think it goes hand in hand also. So if you think in terms of selling to enterprise level customers, if you think about the future of sales, we don't have to go 5 years from today. We can stick to what is relevant in your eyes today. But if we know what skills do we need, which is being being resourceful and being like open-minded, so to say, then what channels you would recommend to use in order to sell to enterprises?
I mean, social is one channel, but I think it's like one to many type of
Mhm.
thing. I don't think you're gonna get a lot like with DMs. I mean, people have good DM strategy. Don't get me wrong. I'm maybe I'm just bad at it, I don't know. But I think like posting content and having like the online presence and people knowing about you, it's still important, even though it's very noisy. But like real life events, I know I'm shouting my own
Really?
horn,
How is
but
that?
events are super important. And I think like as long as you can actually make, you know, connections in real life with the stakeholders you want to meet, like try to find events that actually cater to stakeholders you want to meet, as opposed to huge crowds, and you'll have success. Like these things matter more for companies with higher LTV, because like they can actually afford, you know, working on a deal for some time. But I think we're actually talking about these companies. When you're a PLG SaaS and like you have low LTV, I think like what is going to matter the most is basically positioning in this, you know, AI SEO or whatever, which I have absolutely zero clue about. And on the other hand, is like this content creation and actually having, you know, social presence, social media presence. Like I highlighted the example of HeyRich. Like these guys
Mhm,
know what they're doing because they're hiring people who are social influencers, and that's their like key to success. This tool, I think, I haven't tried it, but like this tool is probably good, and they have like these people shouting from rooftops, you know, this is the
mhm,
best tool. Clay, for example, also a really good example. They have this local clay promoters network. They did it very well. People are super engaged. There is like I mean, guy in Serbia I know of is a clay promoter. A bunch of people who are engaged in this community, and like how, I don't know how their referral program works, but they also target like content creators, influencers, people who are good networkers, and basically spread the, you know, clay wisdom around. And I think like this is how you build a proper GTM, when you rely on, you know, other people, you know, saying the good word or praying the good word. You need money for it, that's true, but I think like in general, even as a bootstrapper SaaS, like you could find an angle of like having other people vouching for you. So this is where I would draw the line. For everything else, I'm not really an expert. I don't really think like cold emailing, I don't think it's gonna be, you know, a really good channel. Maybe something with AI, very, you know, intricate, or I don't know, complicated workflows, maybe, but not really an expert, so I cannot tell about that.
Yeah, with Clay, it's also quite interesting because actually we, Kacper and Ola from my team, I think Kacper was the leader here. We were organizing the Clay event in Wrocław in our office, basically. It was a very cool thing to do. Also, maybe to everyone who is listening to us, we see that not only events, but also things that are going at the time of the events, all the side parties, those are quite
Yeah.
easy to organize, easy to partner, just to split the budget. And as far as I know, never organized, but I'm planning to do that this year. This will be this is quite effective because you invite people. It's an invite only thing. I know the Dealfront and Techpon companies, they were sponsoring, as a side event, dinners for CEOs and founders of SaaS companies, and that was quite interesting because you can deep and engage in quite interesting conversation with very interesting people, and basically not only you can show them what you are doing, but also you can try to solve them their problems. And my thinking is that super biased as well, but for sales, from showing you what value we have as a company, the next level and what will be relevant in the future is like this consultative selling. And super biased, I'm consultant, I know, but trying to solve already your problem during the call, doing all the demos, actually plugging in fast to your data sources, or to your marketing software, you name it. So my point is that the key skill for SaaS company will be time to value, showing how you solve the problem. So this consultative selling whatsoever, showcasing how you solve the problem in couple of minutes, or maybe if it is more complex, as fast as possible, basically. And I think time to value will be the core quote in like next year, maybe 2 years.
I mean, I agree. Like it was always like that, I would
Okay.
say. I mean, like
I thought
when you
it's like,
look at it from a
breakthrough.
yeah.
It's been always like this. How come?
Yeah, I think like we have a saying here in Croatia, like Chris, you discovered hot water, but it's like time to value. I mean, from a sales point of view, it's basically shortening sales cycles. That's it. Like you either by showing the value upfront or like making these POC type of arrangement just very short and very snappy. I think like that's where I mean a lot of companies would love that, and I think a lot of companies would have much better conversion in their sales processes if it's shorter. Like my manager Sarah Archer always said, like time kills deals, and I think like this is a very very important point. And with AI, probably going to be better, but as I said, like going back to people are still people. Like if you cannot meet with the guy in like 3 weeks, he's telling you, "Hey, I'm now on a work trip. Now you know my daughter is sick, and then he's sick." Then like basically you just cannot sell, even though you have all of these AI tools on your side. So I like these things are still staying the same, and I think like smart salespeople just find a way to do it. Like it's not going to be like an AI assisted process that much as much as like charisma and like basically wits of a salesperson.
Uh-huh. And I have like maybe a bit beyond sales, but with the change that we are just discussing with more and more solutions, do you think that, and in general, this is like a very outside of the box, I would say, questions, but in terms of prices themselves, right? Like price tag, like a number. Do you think in time the solution will, the software will become more expensive or less expensive? Like in general and the mass,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, the backbone of this question is, of course, commoditization of software. But pricing being, or price tag being, one of the core profitability levers. I wanted to get your opinion. Do you think the
Mm-hmm.
price will be vital in the deals in the future, and how it will evolve in time?
So I had this LinkedIn post on like commoditization of software in this way, where like AI basically creates this, let's say, standard software. I mean, I compared it with pharmaceuticals and like pharmaceutical industry, where you have already like these standard drugs. Like if you buy ibuprofen, like ibuprofen is the same in every type of drug, but there is other brand names like Brufen or Ibuxine or whatever. Like there is a lot of these brands that are selling certain combination of ibuprofen plus something else. And I think like when you think about it from this perspective, where like let's say cost of development is lower, support is lower, and basically SaaS businesses can be run with 99% profitability because everything is done with AI, you're going to have like people or like companies lowering prices in general. They might be, and also like seat-based pricing like going away. I don't know if it's going to be replaced with something pricier or less pricey, but I would bet on less pricey, to be honest, because that's going to be like a key to win some of these deals, especially from older vendors. And I think like this is happening already in some ways. On the other hand, brands, like really good brands, I mean, why do people still pay for Salesforce? I know I'm picking on them, but
And why
like
do you hate Salesforce so much?
if you were a salesperson using Salesforce, you would hate it as well. Like there is,
I was.
yeah. Then you know what I'm talking about. But no, I mean I'm just kidding. But like, why do people pay for these brands? Like there is alternatives, might be better, might be worse. I don't know. But like you could get probably a good, better value for better, more bang for the buck. Let's say. But you still choose to pay for Salesforce. And I think like these things like brand value is still going to be important, and you're still going to have pricing power. Like if you think about it, like back to pharmaceuticals, like you have certain types of drugs like that are basically same as generics, but they price a lot and people buy them because they kind of trust the brand, or they're going with the brand itself. They like the brand kind of gets the credit from the generics. And I think like in software it's kind of the same. Like you have certain categories, and then in these categories you have like couple of leaders. Everyone refers to these leaders. Like every company like benchmarks in a way, like every vendor kind of has these comparison pages to the leader, and then you as a customer are either choosing the leader, or you're going to be a little bit of an outcast. You're a little bit of a rebel, and you're going to do something else. So I to answer your question, which I realized I didn't even answer. I think like in general SaaS prices should go down, but I think like brands, like big brands and up and coming brands will still retain the pricing power, because it's not about like the underlying costs or profitability or something. It's basically about the brand you're paying. So that's similar to Nike and I don't know, like
Just funny
Pandora or whatever.
phenomenon, right? Because if you think in terms of Nike, I mean, you don't add extra value to Nike in time, right? This is a shoe. Of
Yeah.
course, you can have, I don't know, better laces, like you name it, right? But in software, you're constantly developing your software, which is unfortunate. Like this is fortunate that you're constantly building it, but the trends that you're describing are quite unfortunate, right? Because you're increasing the cost of your software, you're building it, you're investing in it, and then it gets commoditized, which means that the willingness to pay, hence the price, is going down, right? So maybe going back to our initial point, multi-product won't be that bad, and maybe it's the only way for especially big companies to sustain their profitability.
But yeah, Kris, you're not subscribing to your shoes. Like you still like these companies.
Don't
Yes, they
you?
need to.
Don't you? Because I also let me also I don't subscribe to my shoes, right? But I have my one Nike that I like the most. I am like you see me there every conference wearing the same shoes. They are not the same because every 2 years I am buying new shoes that are exactly
Yeah,
the same. So is it MRR or not? Going back to
that's a question for Valueships. I know the guy. I'll introduce you. But I mean, to your point, like okay, your software is generally getting commodified, but your also input costs are getting lower if everything can be done with AI. Like you don't have the overhead. And I think like I mean, unfortunately, the AI revolution transition is basically all about like hiring and firing people. Like in general, but what we're kind of doing right now, we're replacing people with something else. So everything like in the cost basis of like these companies is going to get changed, and basically with less headcount you're going to have more room, more, let's say, maybe not even profitability, maybe just like AI will, or some other segments, software segments will replace these budgets. But in general, like you're going to have higher budgets. And I think like I mean, if you instead of investing like constantly in the technology, if you invest in the brand and basically making the brand itself bigger, you might have like the other way around. Like your costs are getting lower, but your price is getting higher because you have such a powerful brand. It really
That's
depends. Things are not linear, I think.
Yes, they're definitely not. But then if you think about this, I mean, you can't constantly just invest in your brand, right? I mean,
Of course you can. I mean, Coca-Cola does it for what, 200 years, whatever. Like like nothing changed in the product itself. Like the brand is like
have
Christmas
you seen the new
carols
bottle,
and
man? They are
Coca-Cola.
so cool.
Exactly. I mean, like, and then you have like the nostalgia part of Coca-Cola. Like there is, I think like people underestimate like how pervasive these things are. Like if Salesforce comes up with a new product tomorrow and like it just wears the Salesforce brand, but it says like we're scrapping all the old code, this is like the wholly new thing, like they're gonna like attach the value of the Salesforce brand to something which is maybe technologically
Some of
minuscule. Yeah, but minuscule compared to like how built out Salesforce ecosystem is. And still it will be valued like Salesforce. And I think like these things matter. Like your company will exist, like probably, I hope so, in 30, 40 years. Like if you build the foundation for it, you can sell anything. Like how many companies sell? I mean, I just heard like Jägermeister has like a VC fund and they invest in basically party software and tech for events. Like isn't that crazy? You have like Jägermeister as a company and then they have a VC arm. So these things have like a, if you build a big enough company with a good enough brand, I don't think you need to be worried about, AI replacing your whole niche or lower your prices that much.
there are a lot of jokes. If your boss looks like this, you don't need to
Yeah.
you don't need to be worried about the AI. I agree, of course, with you, but also to a certain extent, right? I mean, you can have a very big brand and then still fail with your new product. There are a couple of examples. I think like this, but I think this is also Topic for our next discussion. Most likely, our next discussion will be live, not online. And taking the luxury of remaining 10 minutes, let's see if we have any other questions from the chat. If you would like to ask Leo about anything, please put it in the comment on LinkedIn. And in the meantime, if you also want to meet Leo in person, May is a very good time to do so. And I think March will be also a very good time to do so, because Leo is coming to Poland for
SaaStanak X, or I don't know how we're going to call it, but SaaStanak and Valueships Revenue Day in Wrocław. We'll definitely announce more about it in the coming weeks, but I'm super excited. Been to Wrocław for one day. Tom Annual brought me to this restaurant. How do you call this? Pierogi, right? Yeah. I ate some pierogi, loved it. So I'm really, really looking forward to come back. And anyone, like, basically, I hope someone asks something about the conference so I can talk about that. but you can start with the fake questions, the bot AI generated.
An AI generated question.
Yeah.
Why Šibenik is the best place to organize a SaaS conference? That's the first question we have from the audience.
It's not. Like, first of all, like, even for last year, we didn't choose an easy venue. It was hard to organize that because it was a venue that is actually a nightclub. This venue is a hotel venue with conference rooms, etc. But we don't really rent conference rooms there. We rent a whole, like what they call Mediterranean city, which is, let's say, conference space plus bars plus restaurants, like a whole fake, is 19th century city or whatever, and now we're turning it into a SaaS venue. So it's not the best venue, because if you want to do it like how everyone else does it and like predictable, you basically go to a big venue, which is a conference venue in a big city in Europe. What we're doing is we're basically forcing people to go a little bit more, at the side and go to the coast, and also open their mind to something which is more like a work retreat type of way. And it's not simple, but I think that's what it makes it so fun, and that's why the decor and like the ambient of it will inspire really cool conversations and relaxed networking, like people not worrying about getting an Uber to a side event. Like I'm so traumatized by all of the conferences, like with the side events all scattered all across the town, and then everyone cramming into the Ubers. And I mean, if you remember, like just coming back from SaaStanak to back to your hotel, like like every year is the same same type of struggle. Like I just want to stay in that horseshoe pub, or how is it called, and just drink Guinness until everyone leaves, and then I can actually get my Uber. So these things like matter, and they hinder your or benefit your experience. And I think we're going to solve it in a little bit more creative way.
Mm-hmm. And who we can expect at the conference? I will be there. Maciek will be there. You will be there. But who else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say Kris and Maciek, and that's it. Like, it's their party. No, we're basically hosting a lot of people which are interesting, influential in SaaS. We have some returnee, or how do you call it? Like people who are returning for keynotes because people love them. So Amir from Doist is coming back, delivering another keynote. We have Nenad Milanovic from Cake.com. We also have guests from Poland, like Kris, Maciek, and Tomasz from Surfer SEO, and also Emilia from User Pilot. So a lot of interesting folks. We have US operators, Seth DeHart. So he's the guy behind product-led sales, basically series of blogs, like on the first sales hire, and like this, he calls, and I'm gonna butcher it. I think it was like something like your sales. No, like a first sales champion, something like that. Forgot about it. But like the idea is like, who do you hire as a first salesperson? What set of skills they need to have? And of course, people that are partnering with us, like SaaS Group, Dirk Zamler, a favorite German, favorite comedian German, the only funny German. Don't quote me on that. And Andrew Davis from Paddle, and a bunch of interesting folks. Also, Chris Gannon from Captivate Talent, very interesting company that do sales and growth hiring in US for European companies. So a lot of very, very cool, influential, interesting people in a really nice venue. And I think like that's everything you can ask for from an event.
So highly recommend to do that. We received also one question around the quick summary about the key points on enterprise, like PLG for enterprise scale. So I think trying to summing up our conversation. So the future is like unknown. That's for sure. But actually, from our conversation, it seems that some old playbooks can still be worth it in 2025, 2026, and forward, because we believe, and Leo, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the sales skills will stay similar to what is required today. So you need to be open, you need to be resourceful. That is number one. Then real life channels will be more and more important. So going on the conferences, being social present is also important. Making yourself an influencer, a thought leader. It doesn't need to be on the super big scale, but becoming a thought leader will be helpful. Which brings us to the point that influencer marketing can be quite important. Time to value has been there, and Leo is saying that it has been there. For me, it's not a new thing, but it will be more important than it used to be, simply because if you are charging per output or outcome, if you don't deliver, you won't getting paid. So your customers won't be charged, and they will churn. So it hurts twice. And so I think those would be a key point. So, and this time to value is of course all over the onboarding, how sales can actually help people start using the data. We have a comment: justice for customer success managers. Yes, customer success managers. Carlo,
You're getting replaced first.
no, it's not true. They will be also very important to deliver the time to value. So I think, in the nutshell, those are the key points here. Anything to add before we go back to weekend? No, go back to
Host
Friday.
dinner parties. I
Host dinner.
think, yeah, but not
Host
only
dinner
for
party.
business, not only for business purposes. Host dinner parties for your friends as well. There's been an interesting Twitter thread I was following a couple of days ago, actually a couple of weeks ago, about dinner parties, because like there's such a hassle. Like you need to invite people, cook food, all of that. But these people are golden. Like those people that do that, like they actually cater or foster some connections. And I think a lot of folks would like to get invited to stuff. And if you can be the person to move the needle first, like do it. And in business context, that also mean like it doesn't really cost that much to be a host. And being a host gives you a lot of opportunities, because you have the right to talk with everyone, because everyone are your guests. So
Yes.
try it out. I think like
Side
it would be
events,
great.
right? This is not only dinner parties, of course. This is just one way of doing that. But side events to the main events typically can help you in enterprise sales, because you really create a deep connections with people, and you can have a real conversation, rather than very like conversation in a very noisy place when everyone is distracted.
And if AI replaces you and your job and you get fired, you have a drinking buddy. You
at least
bet.
in different
I know I'm
countries.
moving to Wroclaw. The beer is not that expensive there, like in Zagreb. And I have a drinking buddy, so
Who is that? I'm kidding. Leo, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to our webinar. 27th of March, Leo will be here, and together with Valueships, we're gonna organize a revenue day event. So you are all more than welcome. We will have great speakers, and also great after party afterwards, or after the event. Then the main event in Croatia, in Šibenik, SaaStanak. So all you can, I think, you're all invited. on Leo's expense. I'm kidding. And then when it comes to the main topic, if you want to get a written summary, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter, and the written summary with all the things that we've discussed, plus some additional ideas from my side, will be shared with you. So thank you very much, Leo. Have a great day, and all the best.
Thanks a lot, Kris. Hope I didn't disappoint, and see you in Wrocław.
Never. See you soon. Bye bye.